Someone Better by I_am_Ellie on AO3. Episode 32, Chapter 25, Irrational. Recess was an hour and a half later. It had rained not long ago, but it wasn't too wet for them to play. The ground was still a little squishy in some places, and the grass was damp. That didn't stop Hitoshi from laying sprawled out under the tree, eyes falling close and beginning to snore softly. Izuku and Ochako sat next to each other on the ground, and Denki placed around the tree. May climbed up its trunk. It's pretty out today, Ochako noted. Usually it's really cloudy. I like it better like this. Izuku and Denki nodded. May clawed loudly. Hitoshi snored on. Ochako seemed a little sad when she said it, staring up at the cloudless sky. Are you okay? Denki asked as he crouched down by Hitoshi, his back leaning against the trunk of the tree. I don't know, Ochako said. I just feel a little bad. Sick bad or sad bad? Izuku questioned, sitting up a little straighter. Sad bad, I think, Ochako said. I just really miss my mom and dad. They always take me to the park and stuff on sunny days. Izuku doesn't think he liked parks anymore, and he could understand. Well, maybe your grandma will take you until your mom and dad can come get you, Izuku said. Does she like parks? I don't know, Ochako said, frowning. She doesn't do much. She just stays inside all day and cooks, or knits. She doesn't like doing a lot. And she orders all her groceries, so we can't go places to do that either. My grandma's like that too, Denki interjected. She's real old. She doesn't like doing a lot. She mainly stays inside and reads. But she's really nice, and she sends me book in the mail sometimes. 'Cause she knows my ma and pa don't buy me lots, or take me to libraries and stuff when I finish mine. Does your grandma do stuff like that? She doesn't like reading, Ochako said. But she likes baking, and she makes cookies with me a lot, and she's teaching me how to knit. She says she's going to make me a sweater for my next birthday. Oh, and she hangs my drawings from art class up. Maybe you just feel sad bad because you miss your parents, and your grandma isn't the same, Izuku said. Your grandma sounds nice, but you miss your mom and dad, and that's kind of keeping you from seeing it. I guess, Ochako murmured, looking a bit thoughtful. What's your grandma like, Zuku? Oh, I don't know, Izuku replied. My mommy said she went to heaven when I was 3. I don't remember a lot about her, but she was nice to me and mommy, and she was really happy, and she liked me a whole lot. I remember that. He frowned. I don't think I like her that much anymore, though. What? Why? Denki asked. Maya jumped down from the tree and sat near Hitoshi's sprawled out feet. She wasn't very nice, Izuku said. She hurt someone, and my uncle say you aren't supposed to hurt people, so she's mean. Did she hurt them on purpose? May wondered. She had long since stopped pretending to be a bird. Izuku frowned, mind going a mile a minute. Uncle Sho hadn't told him a lot about Grandma. He'd told him that his grandma hadn't been around much, and that he'd left, and that Grandma had stopped coming home to take care of Uncle Sho when he was 14. Izuku wasn't sure if that had hurt Uncle Sho. Not in the way it hurt when he fell and scraped his knee, or when the water in the shower was too hot, or even when he had gotten surgery. But he knew that when he found out that his dad left, it had hurt his feelings. And sometimes that hurt a lot more than anything physical could. Izuku doesn't know if she'd done that to hurt Uncle Sho. Didn't know much at all because Uncle Sho didn't talk about himself, but she had hurt him. He'd heard scratches of conversation from Uncle Sho and Uncle Hizashi talking about Uncle Sho's parents, while they thought Izuku couldn't hear them. He'd seen how sad Uncle Sho seemed to get whenever Izuku mentioned his grandparents, and Izuku didn't know much about grown-ups other than they were taller than him, and they filled out something horrible called taxes. But he knew they were supposed to know more than kids, and they were supposed to take care of their children, and Grandma hadn't done that, so She should have known better. So it didn't matter whether she had hurt him just to hurt him, it had still been on purpose. Yeah, Izuku answered. Oh, May said. At least you had your grandpa. Nope, Izuku shook his head. He's worse. Oh, geez, Denki murmured, looking quite disturbed. And it started a small laugh out of Izuku. He shrugged once he got under control of himself. Past in the past, Izuku quoted, referencing something Uncle Sashi had said many times. Nothing I could do about it now. Ochako said. She didn't look very happy. Shouta sat in the waiting room, fidgeting with the sleeves of his sweater as he waited for Hizashi to come back from the physical therapist's office. They were supposed to be talking about the treatment plan they wanted to go forward with, and the frequency of their appointments. It was taking far longer than he had expected, and that made him nervous. Shouta had been seated for roughly half an hour when his phone pinged with a text message. Watch me whip. Is Sashi done with his appointment? Shouta almost didn't answer. There was still irritation and incredulity right at the back of his mind, and his feelings of outright anger and his pride telling him to ignore it. You're an adult, you're an adult, you're an adult, he chanted mentally as he typed out a reply, texting tending to be easier than talking. Additionally, the waiting room was crowded with people quietly skimming magazines or checking their phones, and he felt too awkward to talk in front of all these people anyways. Me. Sit back there. Been 30 minutes. Watch me whip. Has he been doing okay? What do you think? Smart ass. Shouta couldn't help but grin for a moment. Have to go. Doctor's calling me back. No, he's not. I'm sorry. I'm trying to help. I didn't want your help. Please call me. Shouta startled at his phone for a moment before clicking the clock. He should have time. He got up, opening the door to the building, and stepped outside. He stood outside the building, pacing back and forth, as the dial tone rang in his ears. God, he hated talking on phones. Shouta, Nemuri said, and Shouta found himself nodding before he could stop himself. Yes, he said. Nemuri sighed heavily. Oh, great. Oh, that's great. I was worried. Okay, Shouta replied, because he wasn't sure what else he should say. I only wanted to help. You know I only wanted to help, right? He did know that. I appreciate that, he said. I do. I do appreciate that, but you should have told me. You could have told me. You made a decision that directly concerned me without telling me about it. I know, she said. I know, I'm sorry. I know, Shouta echoed. I do think you should take the job. I'm sorry I did it, but I do think taking the job is a good idea. I am not a teacher, he said for what must have been the 5th time. I know, you said as much, Nemuri said dryly, which is why I didn't submit your application under a teaching position. What? Yeah, Nemuri said. I got Hizashi and I as teaching assistants. I'm gonna do art history and Hizashi will hopefully do English. If he's alright with the position, of course. We set to start after winter break, I think. What? It isn't a teaching position, Shouta, Nemuri said, and Shouta could practically hear her rolling her eyes. How do you feel about being Nezu's new secretary? Hizashi walked out of the office an hour later, sliding his insurance card to the woman at the desk. Shouta went to stand by him at the front desk as he did, and they left the doctor's office a moment later. The atmosphere was tense in the car. Hizashi kept staring out the window, limp hands resting on his lap, like every bit of energy had been sucked out of him all at once. Shouta tried his best to focus on driving. It wasn't easy. You're holding your breath, Hizashi said. Shouta blinked. I'm not, he said. His fingers strummed a nervous pattern on the steering wheel. You are, Hizashi said. You're nervous about something, I can tell, and when you're nervous about something, you act differently. It's hard to explain, but you're holding something in. What's wrong? Nothing, Shouta said. Stop worrying about me. I'm fine. Focus on yourself. Yeah, well, it feels like I've been focusing on myself a little too fucking much. Hizashi snapped, and his hands were clenched. You've been acting like this for days, Shouta said. And I don't know what's wrong or how to fix it, or what to do with this, but you've been angry for days. Well, I haven't exactly been having the best couple weeks, Shouta, Hizashi reasoned, angrily. I know that. Shouta responded. This felt like dangerous territory. This felt like an argument, waiting to happen. But maybe it needed to happen. He couldn't stop drumming his fingers on the steering wheel. And I've been trying to help. I have. I've helped. But I don't know how to help you with this. That's what's wrong. That was part of what was wrong. Or poor Shouta, Hizashi fumed. Poor Shouta can't figure out why his boyfriend's mad. Whatever would he do? Hizashi, stop. I lost my fucking hearing, Shouta. I'm half deaf now. Everything is different, okay? I think I'm entitled to be a little angry. Don't yell at me, Shouta stated evenly. Don't yell at me just because you're angry, okay? Don't do that. What? Am I scaring you? His voice was taunting, and that was 100 times worse, because angry Hizashi was a lot different than happy Hizashi. It made Shouta feel ill. Yes, Shouta said forcefully. Yes, you are scaring me. He pulled the car over into a gas station, because he couldn't drive like this. I understand that everything is different, and you have every right to be angry, okay? And I know that I'm not handling this as well as I could be, and I'm sorry for that too. But I was there, okay? I know what happened on that mission. I was there. I get it, okay? So just yell, scream, rave, break something. I don't care. But don't take it out on me. And don't take it on Izuku or Nemuri or yourself. Just stop. Oh God. Hizashi trembled, looking horror-struck. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. God, babe, I'm so sorry. His eyes look a little red. Okay, I won't. God. He looked ill. Okay. Okay. Shouta nodded, starting the car and driving out of the gas station. We have something ugly in the apartment you want gone? Hizashi asked, voice thick. Yeah, Shouta said. Got some old glass cups and plates from my old apartment. He's been looking for an excuse to get rid of them for years, but he's never gotten around to do it. And a rotten watermelon. Nemuri's got a lot of stuff. Her mother sends her too. Hizashi hummed. I think I might take your advice, he said. His eyes were still red, and his voice was hoarse and rag-sounding now. Which part? Shouta asked. I think I want to break something. It was around 12 p.m. when they finally got to the empty lot on the edge of the city. Nemuri had come in her own car, boxes of china and dolls and pumpkins that she had, apparently gotten from a nearby store. Shouta had the box of old cups and plates and the rotten melon, and the sledgehammer he bought for 2,000 yen at a hardware store. The first thing Hizashi did, when they got everything set up, was take the hammer to one of Shota's plates, shattering it into a dozen tiny pieces. Then he dropped the hammer and grabbed another 2 plates, throwing them on the ground and slamming on them. It didn't take long for every one of Shota's cups and plates to be reduced to millions of fine shreds and dust. Shouta couldn't say that he minded. Then came Nemuri's porcelain plates. Then the rotten melon. Then they took the hammer to the pumpkins, reducing them to mush. It took a total of 30 minutes, and by the time he was done, there were shards of glass and porcelain and pumpkin everywhere. There were tears falling from Hisashi's eyes, but he had a face-splitting grin. There was a shallow cut on his forearm, and there was watermelon in his hair, but he looked happier than he had in weeks. Better? Nemuri asked, a smudged grin on her face, and Hizashi nodded. He picked up the sledgehammer, walked forward, and Nemuri took several cautious steps back. Hey, don't break me too. Hizashi rolled his eyes, wiping at his face. Thank you, Hizashi said. Of course. Nemuri smiled. Shouta nodded. Really, Hizashi said, sniffling slightly. Blood from the cut of his arm had dripped onto his hand, and when he wiped his face, there was red smeared across his cheek. He looked at Shouta. I really do appreciate it. I know I haven't. I'm sorry. Hizashi shrugged awkwardly. I am glad you're sorry. I'm sorry too. Okay. Okay. They both nodded. Nemuri frowned. I feel like I'm missing something here, she said. What? Hizashi questioned, frowning in confusion. Oh, no, it's nothing. We should clean up. Yes, Shouta agreed, and they gathered bits of pumpkin and watermelon and the largest shreds of glass and porcelain and threw them into boxes to be thrown away later while Nemuri's bagged Hisashi's arm. That was exhilarating, Hizashi said. I feel much better, really. Thank you. Thank you, Nemuri replied. We haven't been able to do something that stupid since UA. Stop saying thank you, Shouta stated, and he shoved the boxes into the trunk of their car. We have to go to Izuku's school to pick him up. Right, Hisashi said. He wiped his eyes one more time before nodding again. Right. They said their goodbyes to Nemuri, climbed into the car, and drove off onto the road. Hisashi looked like he was still thrumming through adrenaline, fingers tapping onto his knees, shoulders rolling every few moments, eyes still a bit puffy, but brighter than they've been in weeks. Shouta only hoped he could stay like that when the adrenaline faded. I love you, okay? I am sorry. I shouldn't have done that, or said what I said. I am sorry. You said that a lot today. I mean it, Hisashi said. Okay? I mean it. I was pissed off. That's not an excuse. You're right. I shouldn't have taken it out on you. I know this has been about as stressful for you as it has been for me. Okay, Shouta said. Really? Hisashi continued. I hurt you, and I shouldn't have done that. I told you I wouldn't do that. Not ever. And I did. I was cruel, and I hurt you. Shouta sighed. I know what you're thinking. Shouta began. That you hurt me in some way, like they did. But you didn't. You haven't, okay? We got into a fight. It happens. You said... And it hurt. It did. But it's not the same thing, alright? It's not the same thing, so please just stop apologizing. It was quiet for a moment, and Shouta could feel Hisashi staring at him as he stared at the road. There's something else, Hisashi said. There is. What is it? Hisashi asked. Shouta could feel a headache building up behind his eyes. You asked me to marry you, Shouta said. When you were still sick from the injury, before you got used to everything. I did, Hisashi confirmed. I remember it. I meant it. Okay, Shouta said. I did, Hisashi insisted. I do want to marry you. If you want to marry me. I do. Okay then. Okay. That was an intense chapter. And I'm gonna stop after this because, let's just say this chapter reminds me of something, because I remember when I first read this, I loved it. Not in the sense that I love them bickering and fighting, but arguments are part of friendships, familiarships, and relationships. It's something that happens. It's something that's normal. I know that the media stigmatizes it in the sense of if, two people are arguing in a relationship, then they shouldn't be together. No, you don't break up because of an argument, right? How you handle the argument says a lot about the relationship, the familiarship, or the friendship. Yes, how you handle that argument says a lot. I mean, I know that I've had my fair share of moments with a significant other of mine where ex-significant other of mine and ex-best friend seems too low of a word. Does that make sense? Platonic soulmate? I don't know. Where we would get into our fair arguments, and we always promised each other. I remember when we first started to fall in love, we promised each other, like, hey, can we promise we'll never, like, you know, be that type of couple who fights 24/7 or has those huge, big-ass fights? And I remember they told me, we're gonna fight. It's inevitable. It's something that's just inevitable. Fuck. It's something that just happens. You can't stop it. You can't, like, you know, it's part of life, right? We're gonna get to a point where something's gonna happen and we're gonna take it out on each other, and that's okay, as long as it's just a verbal argument and it doesn't become, you know, physical, then that's fine. And as long as we make up afterwards and we communicate and we see how that happened and try to have it not happen again. And I was like, you're right. Arguments are part of regular life. Arguments are part of a relationship, a familiarship, and a friendship, right? It's just how life is. And I remember I made them promise, like, hey, when we get into arguments, can we promise to take a step back and breathe so we don't say something that we don't mean to say to each other? And, well, we didn't keep up with that promise, I'll say that. We had 2 big arguments that I can think of, and in both of them, yes, we did retreat. In the first one, we retreat, and the second one, we also retreated. But then we never touched upon it again, right? Because we retreated to go to sleep. So, never go to sleep angry with your significant other. Not a good thing. I don't recommend it. Do not go to bed angry. No, do not. Because it will never get resolved. It will never get resolved, right? It will never get resolved. No, I'm not saying that it will never get resolved, right? If you need to go to bed angry, then go ahead, but just deal with it, okay? Talk. You can't just ignore the fact that an argument happened, right? You have to then, after an argument, talk about what happened and apologize if you were in the wrong. Accept the apology or not, depending on what you want to do, because you're not obligated to accept an apology. You're never obligated to accept an apology. You never let someone tell you that you are obligated to accept their apology because they apologized. No. You are not obligated to accept their apology. Alright? You are never obligated to accept their apology. Whether you accept the apology is up to you. And I know a lot of people say that, oh, you have to accept the apology because if you don't, you're never fully moving on from things. And you will always, resent that person. There is a difference between not accepting an apology, but still moving on. Because, for example, if my ex-abuser, my manipulator, came back into my life and went, hey, I'm sorry for everything that happened. Okay. I don't forgive you. That does not mean that I haven't moved on. I moved on. I've healed. That is no longer something. I no longer hate this person. I no longer, I do fear this person. I'm gonna be honest with you. I fear them because of what they were once to me. And I fear that one day they'll get their grasp on me again. But I know that that won't happen. I know that that's just my paranoia. I know that that's my trauma speaking. And I don't have to accept their apology if they ever do apologize to move on, right? Whoever says you need to forgive someone to move on and not have that hold you back, they're a fucking liar, all right? Don't listen to them, okay? Don't. Because you don't need to accept someone's apology to move on. To move on from someone, you don't need anything from that other person. You don't need a sorry from the other person. You don't need it. Yes, it will help. In fact, I know damn well I want to know why they did it. It would help me sleep. But you know what? We're not going to get that. And healing has nothing to do with them, and it has everything to do with yourself. Fuck them. They're no longer in your life. Heal without them. Because healing with them is letting them back in. And we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. You don't need to accept anybody's apology, okay? When somebody apologizes and they expect you to accept that apology, they're in the wrong. Alright? I know damn well that when I mess up and I hurt someone's feelings, I apologize. But I don't expect anything from that. I don't expect anything from that. I say I'm sorry for hurting you. I'm sorry for doing everything that I did. And I hope you could forgive me. But if you don't, that's okay. Because in the end, it is up to them to judge me. It is up to them to accept me or not again. And I understand that. Because when I apologize because I genuinely feel sorry for what happened. Right? I feel sorry. And I hope you could forgive me. But if you don't, that's okay. And I deserve that. Because I fucked up. And those who apologize and are entitled, who feel entitled to a fucking, what's it called? Apology? Why are you apologizing? Are you apologizing because you're genuinely upset that you hurt the person? Or are you apologizing just to get the other person to forgive you so that you can move on with your merry life? Are you truly sorry about that? Or are you trying to gain ratification that you are no longer the horrible person? Think about it. Think about it. Think about it long and hard. And this is different from apologizing and wanting for the person to forgive you. Wanting to be okay with the person again because yes, you fucked up and you feel so bad that you fucked up and you want the person to forgive you, right? And they don't forgive you and yes, that hurts. I know how much that hurts when somebody doesn't forgive you for something what you did. And it's like, fuck, okay. I get that. Okay. It is up to you. That's okay. And that's okay to feel too. It's okay to want someone to forgive you. What's not okay is to feel you are entitled to that. You're not entitled to it. You can want it. You can say to yourself, I want them to forgive me because I want things to go back because I genuinely feel so sorry for what happened. But not, I apologize, therefore you need to forgive me. Everything's good because I apologized. And I'm sorry doesn't fucking fix broken shit. Anyways, back onto the topic because I kind of went out of hand. Arguments are part of, everyday thing. It happens in every relationship, in every friendship, not every, but it happens. It's not what the media portrays it to be, which is this horrible thing that if couples fight, therefore they need to break up. No. Arguments are gonna happen. And I don't mean physical shit. No. If you're hitting your spouse or your girlfriend or your friend or anybody in your life, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for you. I'm sorry for the person you're hitting, but that's not okay. That's not healthy. That's not good, okay? It's not. Okay? Just stop it. There's other ways to communicate. There is. And think to yourself, why are you doing this? Is this a power trip to you? Did you not get enough attention when you were a child? What stems? Are you just a narcissist? Like, what's wrong there, But as I was saying, arguments happen a lot. What happens after an argument? And how you handle an argument is what dictates that if it's healthy or not, the relationship, familiarship, or friendship, right? Like, for example, if two friends are fighting over something and one is refusing to accept the fact that they're wrong, well, the other's like, okay, I get that I did something wrong as well in this, but you have to understand you also did something wrong here. We both fucked up. We have to own to it. And the other person doesn't own up to it, and they decide to just be like, oh, well, let's just fucking throw it under the rug. It's nothing. You're overreacting. Oop. We're not being healthy there. I'm not saying that you should throw the friendship away, but I'm saying there's some work there you gotta do with that friendship before it becomes a healthy, communicative, and good friendship. Because there's something wrong there. There's something there. There's some blockage there. We need to fix that energy, right? Same with relationships. If you're in an argument and all of a sudden your partner is like, oh my god, you're being overreactive, or oh my god, can we just drop this? Just drop it. Something wrong there. We're not communicating. We're not communicating. Something's wrong there. Or if you keep fighting over the same fucking thing, something's wrong there because you're not dealing with it. Because the point of arguments are to, okay, this is a problem that we've let build a little bit too much, and we need to solve it right now because for some reason we haven't come up with this, or for some reason this was a huge trigger and this happened, but we need to talk about it, we need to communicate, we need to use our words because we're adults here, and if you're a minor, I'm sorry, because we're big kids, you know, we're adults, we're teens, we are people with cognitive thinking who can sit and think about others' feelings, all right? Our minds have developed hard enough to be able to do that. And if you're like a 8-year-old, you know, listening to this, why are you here? Like, no offense, but full offense. Why are you here? If, like, you're an 8-year-old. I'm sorry. This isn't... I curse a lot. Do your parents know you're listening? Please tell me your parents know you're listening, because I curse a lot. And I have certain content in my shit that I have certain content in my not my fanfiction. Well, yeah, my fanfiction. In my YouTube that is not necessarily child appropriate. I'm not saying it's like inappropriate, but it's not child appropriate. There's a difference between not child friendly and not child appropriate. No, wait, hold up. There's a difference between not child safe and not child appropriate, right? So not child safe, think NSFW, right? Not child appropriate, think cursing, talking about really, really tough subjects, like what I'm talking about right now. I mean, this isn't a tough subject, but you get what I mean. Whatever, we're taking this back into the topic because I keep getting sidetracked. Arguments are part of everyday life. Arguments are something that happens, and as much as the media wants to stigmatize arguments, it's natural. It happens. It is a thing that happens, and we just have to embrace it, and we have to learn how to communicate and use our words to communicate to the other party of what's happening. And understand that if you're in the wrong, you have to admit that you're in the wrong. You can't just stand still. You can't expect to be like, oh, I'm in the wrong, but I'm gonna make the other person think that they're in the wrong, because you're creating a problem. And that's gonna explode back in your face later down the road. All right? Now, obviously, after that big argument, we get the marry me because, oh my god, they're getting married. I love this. I love this. We're also almost done with this section of the fanfiction. Not the whole fanfiction. We're not done with the fanfic. We're done with the someone better, and we're gonna move on to somewhere better, which is gonna be really interesting. Oh, that happens in that one. Ooh, okay. All right, okay. So, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.